Hi political junkies, my name is Guillaume Huppé and welcome to the Monthly Watch, where we dig deeper into various topics of interest. Fasten your seatbelts because this one is wild, with conspiracy talks,
I believe the election was stolen,
crazy statements,
The outcome of our presidential election was seized from the hands of voters.
and this insane clip.
January 6th will tell us whether there are any in Congress willing to battle for the America that those soldiers fought for, the one that you and I believe in.
All of that and a lot more as we try to understand what was said on Fox News between the day of the election and the deadly insurrection on the Capitol on January 6th. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm glad that you made it. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of this type of content. Last July, I published this article on medium.com, in which I analyzed over 200 clips aired on Fox News between the day of the election and the insurrection. So let's dig a little deeper. Chapter 1. Opinion hosts undermined factual reporting. I promise you there are some crazy clips, don't worry. But I want to say first that Fox News also has good journalists. For instance, a week after Biden was declared president-elect, David Spunt accurately reported this.
Neil, good morning to you from the White House. President Trump at the White House this morning, continuing to embrace this alternate reality that he either won the race or the election was rigged, in his words.
Unfortunately, good reporting was repeatedly discredited by opinion hosts and their guests. And this happened on election day while states were counting votes and after the Electoral College convened. And the vast majority of videos uploaded by Fox News on YouTube during that period are excerpts from their opinion shows. In other words, not news. Chapter 2. Claims of a stolen election. Efforts to question the legitimacy of the election started very early on the day of the election and continued up until January 6th, the day of the insurrection. So for example, on the day of the election, and that was before polls were closed, keep that in mind, that's important, the press communications director for the Trump campaign went on Fox News and she suggested that Democrats were trying to steal the election because ballots would be counted after the day of the election. This is what she said.
But Democrats trying to change the rules, upend the process here to try and be able to cram votes in later, that's stealing the election, and that's the opposite of what the president's doing.
Wow.
So this claim went unchallenged by the host, like many other claims that we're going to see today. And talks of a stolen election by Democrats quickly became a recurring theme on the network. So for example, the day after the election, and now keep in mind, we did not know what the results were. People were still counting votes. Tucker Carlson claimed this.
The outcome of our presidential election was seized from the hands of voters, where, of course, it rightly belongs, and now resides in the control of lawyers and courts and highly partisan, clearly corrupt big city bureaucrats. So no matter what happens next, that is a tragedy. Many Americans will never again accept the results of a presidential election.
And this rhetoric continued well into 2021. For example, 2 days before the deadly insurrection on the Capitol, Steve Hilton said this.
And now we get to the heart of the distrust. The Democrats have been pushing ballot harvesting everywhere. They use the virus as an excuse to bend the voting rules in their favor.
Chapter 3. Talks of fraud and collusion. Hosts and guests on Fox News repeatedly suggested that fraud and collusion surrounding the election were legitimate concerns. Talks of fraud were, if you remember, peddled by Trump himself in the morning of November 4, right after the election, when he claimed this.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Trump's false claims were echoed on the network throughout November, December, and well into January. And although allegations of fraud were often vague, unclear, or unexplained, talking heads like Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Steve Hilton repeatedly pointed the finger at, and here we go, I have a list. They pointed the finger at Big tech, the mainstream media, the deep state, corporate America, city Democrats, the system, experts, pollsters, the ruling elite, the establishment, and other catch-all terms. This is what Tucker Carlson said.
The 2020 presidential election was not fair. No honest person would claim that it was fair. On many levels, the system was rigged against one candidate and in favor of another. And it was rigged in ways that were not hidden from view. We all saw it happen. The media openly colluded with the Democratic nominees.
On top of all of that, Fox News viewers were also encouraged to continue questioning the legitimacy of the results, even after multiple recounts and failed legal challenges. On December 14, electors of the Electoral College convened to formally cast their votes for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and that essentially brought to an end all outstanding challenges to the election. But despite that, in a clip published on the same day, Steve Hilton said this.
Another week, and still the establishment are telling you to shut up and move on. If you've got questions about the election, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you point to the flaws in mail-in voting, you're a racist vote suppressor. If you think voters should be given important information about the candidates before the election, not after, you're undermining democracy. If you think elections should be run according to the Constitution, you're somehow a traitor trying to destroy the country.
Chapter 4. Claims that conservatives are persecuted. Between the day of the election and the insurrection, Fox News hosts and their guests repeatedly implied that conservatives, Republicans, or Trump supporters are victims of persecution and oppression in America. For example, 3 days after the election, Laura Ingraham suggested on her show that Democrats drafted a blacklist of conservatives to punish.
The blacklist. I mean, you've been writing about this for decades. The left has always had one.
They have, and this is a tyrannical impulse. It's so ironic because they keep accusing Trump of being a tyrant, but ultimately, these are people who, if they had their wish, they would ostracize their opponents, they would have them fired from their jobs, they would have them digitally censored, and they cheer when that happens. And who knows, they might next be willing to imprison them.
Interestingly enough, Trump allies made similar claims on the network. For instance, Senator Lindsey Graham said this.
Yeah, mainstream media polling is designed to suppress Republican votes. I won by 11, Susan won by 7 or 8, Mitch won by 21. It's a game they play with their polling to depress the Republican vote.
On the eve of the insurrection, Fox News continued to play on the notion that Trump supporters were persecuted by the media. Greg Gutfeld added fuel to the fire by saying this.
Fact is, the deep hatred toward millions of Americans from the media existed well before this election. CNN mastered it and tried to monetize it. It's the media's persistent, irrational venom toward Trump supporters that created the legit suspicion that election fraud indeed happened. I mean, if you think the Trump camp are all white, bigoted rubes or Nazis, of course you're going to rig the election. It's like that college mind game. If you could go back in time, would you kill a baby if that baby was Hitler? Sure, you're killing a baby, but hey, it's Hitler.
On the same day, during an interview with Senator Johnson about his plan to object the certification of the election, Harris Faulkner suggested that Republicans were disenfranchised in the 2020 election. She told the senator this.
If this were a situation where others were disenfranchised and it weren't Republicans, what you're doing benefits everybody, because you got to take a look at those areas that are broken. So going forward, everybody has more faith.
Chapter 5 claims that liberals are radicalized. On the other hand, Fox News painted liberals, Democrats, and Biden supporters as radical, rage-filled, and lawless individuals. Hosts often used loaded language to describe the left. For instance, Sean Hannity said this.
Let's be clear. This new, extreme, radical, democratic, socialist, and even lawless party, they're on a quest for power at all costs. And they're vowing to destroy anyone and everyone that dares to get in their way.
This type of language was recurrent on the network. Jason Chaffetz, for example, indulged in comparable rhetoric.
But of course, this is what we've come to expect from the new extreme, rage-filled left, spewing endless hate and personal attacks against those who dare to call out their rampant hypocrisy. and outright lies and misinformation.
Also, something that's a little weird, Fox News somewhat entertained the notion that somehow Democrats lost the election or only believed that they won the election. And obviously this claim is irrational, as Joe Biden is the president and Democrats in Congress hold the majority in both houses. But regardless, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy went on Fox News and said this.
The Democrats have just lost in this election, and the Republicans come January have the momentum to actually run the floor because our ideas are stronger and reflect the American public's views.
And instead of challenging this claim, the host followed with a question about allegations of fraud. And similarly, Greg Gutfeld suggested that Democrats only believe that they won the election. Check this out.
But if maiming Trump supporters is how they react after they believe they won, what if they thought they lost? That's easy. Cities would have burned, people would have died, hence the boarded up buildings. The fact that the media ignores all of this reveals their complicity.
Conclusion. In the weeks leading to January 6, Fox News repeatedly promoted dangerous falsehoods. Days before the insurrection, January 6 became a hot topic on the network as several Republican members of Congress planned to object the certification of Joe Biden's victory. In hindsight, some statements were incendiary, like this one made by Jeanine Pirro 4 days before the attack on the Capitol.
January 6th will tell us whether there are any in Congress willing to battle for the America that those soldiers fought for, the one that you and I believe in.
Although it is virtually impossible to measure the true impact that the network had on the events of January 6, Fox News is the most watched cable news network in America, and we can safely say that it contributed to legitimizing the big lie that fueled the events of January 6. To this day, and we are in September right now, there's millions of Americans who still hold the belief that the election was illegitimate, fraudulent, or stolen, and this is putting American democracy under unprecedented pressure. As the January 6th Commission continues to move forward with its mandate, we still have a lot of questions right now. What happens when a global superpower like America so openly struggles with democracy? Today we may have uncovered a part of the truth, the role that some media have played fabricating the big lie. But there's a lot more that we need to know, and only time will tell. And with that, my name is Guillaume Huppé, and this concludes our monthly watch. Make sure to follow this page to never miss new content, and I'll see you very soon. Bye. You can also listen to my podcast. It's called The Monthly Read, and it's available everywhere.